I know.
That's where my name tag was. You want to move over? You can be the rose between these two corners. For me? It should always be. That's friendly of you. What a kind person to be. I'm sure I'll learn that. Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Well, it is. There's only 3 people on council. We can still do a quorum with me.
Oh, they're here.
All right. I just drove up. Sarah and Story. Oh, okay. Tomorrow City Council just drove up. Just give them a minute. Pop in. With tardy slips.
To the credit,
Slip out, let's do it.
to the credit, I think.
Send it down the office.
Okay.
You have a note? All right, let's get it. Good to see you. Good work. All right. Wait for a second.
1 minute.
Okay. We're going to bring the City Council meeting for September 18th, 2017 to order. It's 6:32. Roll call, please.
Councilor Westover? Here. Councilor Warren?
Here.
Councilor Baker has excused absence. Councilor Schneider?
Present.
Councilor Shunk?
Present.
Councilor Cameron? Here. Mayor Les?
Here. Stand for pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, tonight we have a new member of our team joining us. And, I'd like to welcome our city manager, Swanson. And we went through about 31 different resumes, did a couple of interviews, and synthesized the pack down to a couple of great candidates. And Eric came out on top, and on behalf of myself, City Council, staff, residents of Phoenix, the visitors here, our Rogue Valley partners, I'd like to welcome you aboard. I look forward to you using your decades of experience, knowledge, and leadership to help guide us to this critical time. And Eric, want to say a couple words?
Sure, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'll be short and sweet. My family and I are extremely happy to be here back in Rogue Valley, and I'm looking forward to working with the citizens and the council and staff, and working together on a lot of really fun, important projects. And I want to thank you for the confidence.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Look forward to having you aboard. All right. Thanks,
You're
Eric.
welcome.
All right. Well, item number 3 on the agenda is presentation of Rogue Valley disposal doing a presentation of our contamination prevention plan. And come on up, guys, introduce yourselves.
Good evening, I'm Laura Liebrick from Road Disposal and Recycling.
I'm Gary Benning with Road Disposal and Recycling.
And I think we know most, if not all of you from prior visits. In fact, I think the last time that we met with you, we were introducing a new recycling campaign which is designed to kind of simplify recycling preparation guidelines. The aim of that, really primary aim, was to cut down on contaminants in the recycling stream. We have been working, Ray has been working alongside us very closely on working on compliance with new DEQ rules that have come down. New legislation passed a couple of sessions ago, changing, kind of upgrading, beefing up the Opportunity to Recycle Act. And one of the primary focuses of those upgrades to the Recycling Act were to highlight and come up with messaging campaigns around contamination in the recycling stream. Phoenix is in the, I think, probably by virtue of the fact that you meet your requirements under the Opportunity to Recycle Act without on a yearly basis. But again, because of your participation in JCRP, bottom line is the contamination reduction plan that's been chosen in Jackson County overwhelmingly is a plan that calls for the local recycling processing center, which we operate out in White City, to identify contaminants in the recycling stream and communicate to jurisdictions through their various waste haulers, of which there are 3 in the county, what those contaminants are to kind of help the haulers identify where the contamination is coming from residents and businesses. And then they'll go back and communicate, come up with messaging campaigns to try and cut down on the contamination. So again, I think it's a good thing for the city of Phoenix. You don't have to go through the negotiation with DEQ over this plan, but you will benefit from the plan being adopted by other jurisdictions around you.
Great.
Also, a copy on the 15th of a letter that has the residents and businesses of the city of Phoenix. I got to deliver the good news. If anybody has questions.
Talked about the difficulties of recyclables, and it's always been a challenge for us. That and the fact that transportation costs continue to go up, and we've got a long way to go to recycling markets versus those folks in Portland that are right there where the processors are at. About 4 to 6 months ago, China came out with what they call the national sword, and they are severely restricting the amount of contamination in not only recyclables but also metal. So what that has done is historically some places have shipped recyclables that has as much as 20% contamination in it. This new standard, not ours. This new standard, they wanted to limit it to 0.3 of 1%. So what that has done to these processing facilities, not only in Oregon but in the West Coast, is they've had to slow their lines way down and try to meet that spec. They're still not able to meet that spec, and now containers are stacked full of materials that they're rejecting and sending back stateside. The facilities in Portland are filling up with material because they can't process what they have coming in and get it to the spec to ship it out. So we've been watching that very closely for the last month or so. We've been in contact with DEQ, working with DEQ on, what are we going to do should they say we're not going to take any more mixed waste paper, and that's one of the things that China is talking about. They don't want any more mixed waste paper. They're also talking about they wouldn't want plastic tubs and bottles, the number 3 through 7, which is on the bottom of the container. So we want to give you a heads up about that. We're working on contingency plans. We're talking to DEQ. We're talking to other cities. We're looking to market this stuff wherever we can. But at some point, we may be coming back and updating you on that to let you know how that's going. So, go through.
at some point in time. We won't be doing
Clarify, China is, and currently, the great majority, this is a big blow, but it's really not as simple as a contamination issue. I do believe that China has reached a point where their economy is strong, they have a strong and growing middle class, much more affluent, and they're trying to clean up the environment. And I think what they're doing is trying to cut down on the amount of imported materials so they can jumpstart their own collection infrastructure and feed their own manufacturing. So I think that while it's very alarming that they're talking about an outright ban of certain materials, that is definitely alarming. I do believe that what we're seeing is kind of you can never count on having such a huge demand started in the U.S. But for the time being, there may well, in the end, be changes to the material streams we collect. We have no interest in throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There is demand for these materials. It is recyclable. It's just a matter of shifting to markets that are going to be able to meet, are going to be able to build up demand for the huge supply we've got in the U.S. So I wouldn't say that the Red Lid program is in danger of going away. I do believe that there will be market recovery. I'm just afraid it may be very slow. That's why Gary said we're working with the Department of Environmental Quality to figure out what contingency plans we can put in place to get through the crisis.
And what goes in that red lid may change over time. Right now we're hearing that glass that we recycle here
Needs to come out.
will probably need to come out, and the reason for that, another successful program, the Bottle Bill in Oregon, it went from a nickel to a dime. So the processor that accepts all that glass from the beverage container community is basically overwhelmed with glass. Their volume went up, and it's a very clean stream. So programs, it's dirtier than what the container redemption stream. So we've lost that, and come January 1st, that program is going to expand. So all those single serving drinks you see, like bottles of Snapple, whether it's glass or plastic, all that's going to have a dime on it. Your milk, your little strawberry milks, your nice Arizona iced teas that come in bottles and all that kind of stuff. I believe even like the Gatorade and that kind of
Yes,
stuff.
sports drinks.
All those sports drinks are going to come into the program,
And
which